You get up from the couch for 30 seconds, maybe to grab water, maybe to answer the door, maybe just to stretch. And when you turn around, your dog has already claimed your spot. They're curled into the exact indent your body left behind, eyes half closed, looking almost smug. You might laugh. You might feel a little annoyed. You might even think they're being stubborn or trying to dominate you. But here's the truth most people never realize. Your dog isn't stealing your seat. They're not being defiant or disrespectful. They're doing something so much more tender than that. They're trying to stay close to you in the only way that makes sense to their heart. And what looks like a simple behavior is actually one of the most profound love languages your dog has. The first reason your dog takes your seat is the most basic, but also the most beautiful. It's warm, not just surface warm. It's your warmth. The heat signature your body leaves behind soaks into the fabric, into the cushion, and your dog is drawn to it like a compass finding north. To them, that warmth isn't just comfortable. It's you. When you leave, they press themselves into that heat because it's the closest thing to being held by you when you're not there. Norwegian wildlife researchers studying Arctic canines discovered something remarkable. Dogs instinctively seek thermal comfort tied to their pack leader. It's not about temperature regulation. It's about connection. The warmth you leave behind is a ghost of your presence, and your dog wants to wrap themselves in it. They're not taking your spot. They're borrowing your embrace. But it's not just the warmth. It's the scent. Your seat is saturated with your unique chemical signature. Every person has one. A blend of oils, sweat, pheromones, and the lingering smell of your daily life. To a dog, whose sense of smell is 40 times more powerful than yours, that scent is everything. It's a map of who you are. When your dog lies in your spot, they're wrapping themselves in your presence. They're immersing themselves in you. Canine olfactory studies show that dogs can distinguish between the scent of a loved one and a stranger with 98% accuracy. And when they smell you, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that floods a mother's brain when she holds her baby. So when your dog takes your seat, they're not being opportunistic. They're literally bathing in the thing that makes them feel most connected to you. It's not about the spot. It's about you. And here's where it gets even deeper. If your dog rushes to your seat the moment you stand up, it might be their way of calming their own nervous system. Your scent doesn't just remind them of you. It lowers their cortisol. It regulates their heartbeat. Behaviorists in Scandinavia have documented this as scent anchoring, a self-soothing mechanism dogs use when they feel even the smallest separation from their person. You might only be gone for a minute, but to your dog, that minute is a micro-absence, a tiny fracture in their sense of security, and your seat becomes a lifeline, a way to hold on to you even when you've stepped away. If your dog seems anxious, if they pant or pace when you're out of sight, taking your seat isn't defiance. It's medicine. They're using your scent to tell their brain that everything is still okay, that you're still theirs. There's also something ancient in this behavior, something that goes back thousands of years before dogs ever lived in houses or sat on couches. In wolf packs, staying in the resting spot of the alpha is a way of maintaining closeness and hierarchy, but not in the way people think. It's not about dominance, it's about connection. Wolves rest near their pack leader to stay bonded, to absorb their scent, to remain part of the emotional center of the group. Your dog carries that instinct. When they take your seat, they're not challenging you. They're staying connected to you energetically, even when you're across the room. It's a thread they refuse to let go of. An invisible tether that says, I belong to you, and you belong to me, and even space won't change that. Sometimes, your dog takes your seat for a different reason entirely. They're guarding it, protecting it, holding it for you. This isn't about possession in the aggressive sense. It's about loyalty disguised as occupation. They're keeping your space warm, making sure nothing disrupts the place where you belong. You might see another pet approach, and your dog lifts their head, watching. You might see them shift slightly, positioning themselves more deliberately. They're not taking over your territory, they're defending it on your behalf. Because in their mind, your place is sacred, and if you're not there to hold it, they will. And then there's the separation piece. Even a trip to the kitchen feels like separation to your dog. You disappear from their line of sight, and their world shrinks just a little. Taking your seat is their way of shortening that distance. It's a bridge they build while you're gone, a way of staying tethered to you across the space between rooms. You might think they're just being a couch hog, but what they're really doing is refusing to let go. They're holding your place in the pack, your place in their heart. And when you come back, they might not even move, because now you're both in the same space again, and that's all that ever mattered. But here's the most beautiful truth hidden in this behavior. A dog who takes your seat isn't being defiant. They're showing you they feel safe in your world, that your space is their safe space. It's one of the highest compliments a dog can give. Think about it. They could lie anywhere, the floor, their own bed, another chair, but they choose the exact spot where your body was, because that spot holds your energy, your scent, your warmth, and in a world full of uncertainty, that spot is the most certain thing they know. Canine attachment theory tells us that dogs with secure bonds to their owners actively seek out their scent when stressed or alone. It's not learned behavior, it's instinct. Your dog takes your seat because you are their home. And when you're not physically there, your seat is the next best thing. So the next time you walk back into the room and find your dog curled up in your spot, don't see it as theft. See it as a love letter written in the only language they have. They're not trying to take from you. They're trying to hold on to you. Every warm cushion, every lingering scent, every stolen seat is just another way of saying, you are my whole world, and even 30 seconds without you feels too long. Does your dog do this? What do you feel when you see them in your spot? Because once you understand what they're really saying, you'll never see that behavior the same way again. If this changed how you see your dog's heart, stay close. Because there's so much more your dog is trying to tell you every single day. And every gesture, every glance, every stolen seat is a message. One that says you are loved more deeply than you'll ever fully understand. But here's where it gets deeper. Sometimes, when your dog takes your seat, they're not just seeking comfort. They're trying to tell you something's wrong. Not every seat-stealing moment is sweet. Not every time your dog curls into your spot is about love, or warmth, or connection. Sometimes it's a whisper of anxiety. Sometimes it's insecurity, trying to find solid ground. And sometimes, if you know how to read the signs, it's a plea for help. Your dog's body language in that moment tells you everything. The difference between affection and distress lives in the details most people never notice. And missing those details can mean missing what your dog desperately needs you to understand. The first sign something's wrong shows up in their body. If your dog takes your seat but their posture is stiff, that's not relaxation. Their muscles shouldn't be tight. Their shoulders shouldn't be raised. If their ears are pinned back and their eyes are darting around the room, they're not enjoying your spot. They're monitoring. They're scanning. This isn't comfort. It's hypervigilance. Your dog is using your seat as a lookout post because they don't feel safe. Maybe there's been a change in the house, a new noise outside, a shift in routine they can't predict. When a dog takes your seat but can't settle into it, their nervous system is telling you they're on high alert. They're not wrapping themselves in your scent for comfort. They're positioning themselves in your space because it's the only place that feels even remotely secure in a world that suddenly feels unstable. And that tension in their body is a message you need to hear. The second warning is harder to face. If your dog takes your seat and growls when you try to reclaim it, something has shifted. If they stiffen when you approach, if they show teeth or snap when you reach for them, this isn't affection anymore. This is resource guarding. And the resource they're guarding is your space. Somewhere along the way, they've misunderstood the dynamic. They've started to believe that your seat belongs to them now, that they have the right to control it. Norwegian animal behavior clinics see this often in dogs with inconsistent boundaries. Dogs who are allowed on the furniture one day and scolded for it the next. Dogs who've never had clear leadership or predictable rules. The guarding behavior isn't about dominance in the old-fashioned sense. It's about confusion. Your dog doesn't know where they stand, so they're trying to claim something, anything, that gives them a sense of control. But when that something is your seat, and the aggression is directed at you, the relationship has cracked. And it needs attention before the crack becomes a break. The third sign lives in what happens after you leave. If your dog takes your seat and then starts panting heavily, whining, pacing, or becoming destructive the moment you step out of the room, the behavior has crossed into compulsive territory. This isn't about comfort anymore. This is separation anxiety, escalating. Your dog isn't soothing themselves by lying in your spot. They're spiraling. The scent that should calm them is instead amplifying their desperation because it reminds them you're gone. Studies on canine anxiety disorders show that dogs with severe attachment issues can become more distressed when surrounded by their owner's scent in the owner's absence. It's like holding a photograph of someone you miss so much it hurts. The reminder doesn't bring peace. It brings panic. If your dog's seat stealing is paired with destructive behavior, excessive vocalization, or signs of distress, they're not just missing you. They're unable to regulate their emotions without you. And that's a psychological wound that needs more than just understanding. It needs intervention. The fourth pattern is subtler, but just as telling. Some dogs take your seat and immediately lock eyes with you. They stare. They wait. They watch for your reaction. If this happens constantly, if it feels performative, it's not about the seat. It's about feeling invisible. These are dogs who've learned that taking your spot gets your attention, even if that attention is frustration. Even if you're annoyed. Even if you shoo them away. Because any attention is better than none. And if your dog has started to believe that the only way to be seen is to do something that disrupts you, that's a heartbreaking admission. They're saying, I don't know how else to make you look at me. Behaviorists call this attention-seeking desperation, and it often develops in dogs whose owners are chronically distracted. Dogs who spend hours near someone who's always on their phone, always working, always mentally elsewhere. The seat stealing becomes a strategy, a way to force connection, and the sadness underneath that behavior is profound. The fifth warning shows up during life changes. If your dog suddenly starts taking your seat after a major shift, they're trying to reclaim stability. A new baby arrives and suddenly your routine is unrecognizable. You move to a new house and nothing smells familiar. Your work schedule changes and you're leaving 3 hours earlier than you used to. To your dog, the entire architecture of their world has collapsed, and your seat becomes an anchor, the one place that still smells like the life they knew. If this behavior appears out of nowhere during times of transition, it's not defiance, it's displacement. They're saying everything is different, and I don't know where I belong anymore. This is a dog trying to hold on to something constant in a sea of change, and if you punish them for it, you're taking away the only stability they have left. What they need instead is patience, routine, reassurance that, even though things have changed, you haven't. The sixth sign is wrapped in jealousy, but it's not what people think. If your dog only takes your seat when another pet or person is near you, they're not being bratty. They're inserting themselves into your space to maintain closeness because they're afraid of being replaced. This is insecurity disguised as possessiveness. Maybe you have a new partner and your dog has noticed your attention shifting. Maybe you brought home another animal and suddenly your lap isn't theirs alone anymore. The seat stealing in these moments is a territorial claim, but it's rooted in fear. Your dog is saying I used to be enough for you, and now I'm not sure I still am. Canine social cognition research shows that dogs experience something very close to jealousy when they perceive their bond with their owner is threatened. And taking your seat when someone else is around is their way of saying, I was here first. I matter too. Don't forget me. And then there's the seventh sign, and it's the one people miss most often. If your dog is older, or if they've recently started taking your seat when they never did before, and their body seems stiff or hesitant when they move, this might not be about behavior at all. It might be about pain. Older dogs, or dogs with joint issues, arthritis, or hip dysplasia, will seek out the softest, most supportive spot in the house. And often, that's your seat. The couch cushion you've worn in over years. The chair with the perfect amount of give. They're not stealing your spot out of love or anxiety. They're choosing it because it hurts less. If this behavior is new, and it's paired with difficulty standing, reluctance to jump, or limping, it's time for a vet visit. Your dog isn't trying to tell you something emotional. They're trying to tell you something physical, and their choice of where to rest is a clue you shouldn't ignore. Not every behavior is simple. Not every stolen seat is a love letter. Sometimes it's a warning. Sometimes it's a wound showing itself in the only way a dog knows how. But here's the beautiful and difficult truth. Even the hard behaviors come from a place of need, not malice. Your dog isn't trying to disrespect you or manipulate you. They're trying to survive their own confusion, their own fear, their own pain. And understanding the difference between love and anxiety in this one small action can change everything about how you respond. It can change whether you laugh or listen, whether you push them off or pause to check their body, whether you see defiance or desperation. Has your dog's seat stealing ever felt different? What did their body language tell you? Because your dog is always speaking to you. Sometimes in whispers, sometimes in warnings. And if you want to understand every message, every gesture, every moment they choose your space over their own, stay here. Because their love language deserves to be fluent in yours too. And every stolen seat is a sentence. You just have to learn how to read it.